Hello, everyone. Genshin Impact, one of Hoyoverse's most iconic games, continues to captivate players with its ever-expanding roster of characters. With each update, new characters are introduced, sparking excitement among players eager to enhance their party. While many players focus on the aesthetic appeal of these characters, others are more concerned with how they perform in the game's meta. Powerful characters can make a significant difference in tackling the game's toughest challenges, but acquiring them often requires a substantial investment of primo gems. For those who prefer to be more strategic with their resources, consulting a Genshin Impact tier list is essential. These tier lists help players identify the best characters to invest in, ensuring they can build a strong team even without the top-tier 5-star units. Whether you're a free-to-play player or someone looking to maximize the value of your pulls, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each character will allow you to create effective party compositions and conquer the game's most demanding content. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Genshin Impact. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Aloy, Geo Traveler, Anemo Traveler, Amber, and Hydro Traveler. As a welfare unit, Aloy performs as expected, with an overall kit that feels average. While her elemental skill has a long duration, it lacks the impact needed to stand out. Her elemental burst can deal a respectable amount of damage, but only if built properly. Unfortunately, her utility and damage output generally fall short compared to other characters. Geo Traveler offers a decent kit, with a spammable elemental skill and burst. The elemental skill creates a geo construct, often used to block enemy movements or attacks. The elemental burst provides AoE geo damage and an additional geo construct that is more effective at blocking attacks. The passive skill from their C1 constellation boosts party members' crit rate within the radius of the geo construct's AoE from the burst, adding some utility to an otherwise underwhelming character. Anemo Traveler can be useful for new players, but they are quickly outclassed by any other Anemo characters. Their elemental skill deals decent Anemo damage and triggers swirl reactions, but the character becomes immobile and vulnerable during casting. The elemental burst can group smaller enemies together, but it often pushes them too far away, and it has little effect on larger enemies, making it less effective overall. Amber's kit is held back by long cooldowns and low damage output. Her elemental skill, which summons Baron Bunny, takes too long to explode, and the damage it deals is underwhelming. The elemental burst doesn't fare much better, as its damage output is similarly low. Even manually triggering Baron Bunny's explosion isn't worth the effort, making Amber one of the less effective characters in the game. Hydro Traveler struggles to find a place in most teams, as their kit feels awkward and underwhelming. The elemental skill and burst are both lackluster, making it difficult to justify their use. While they can help trigger Nouvelette's charged attacks, there's little else that makes Hydro Traveler worth considering. In most cases, using them feels more like a self-imposed challenge than a viable strategy. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Razor, Chongyun, Xinyan, Candice, Chiki, Barbara, Electro Traveler, and Dory. Razor is a physical DPS specialist who thrives in a team with a cryo character to trigger superconduct, boosting his physical damage. His elemental skill is essential for generating the energy particles needed for his high-cost elemental burst, which is his primary source of damage. The burst converts his normal attacks into electro damage, increases his attack speed, and grants resistance to interruption. However, Razor struggles with AoE damage, making him less effective against groups of enemies. Chongyun, the Little Exorcist, can flex between main DPS and sub-DPS roles, depending on his build. While his slow, normal attack speed, even for a Claymore user, hinders his effectiveness as a main DPS, he excels as a sub-DPS, particularly in freeze or melt teams. With a low-cost elemental burst, he is great for quick-swap strategies. Chongyun isn't a bad character, but he relies heavily on strong teammates to reach his full potential. Xinyan offers a unique combination of physical and pyro damage. Her elemental skill generates a shield that strengthens with more enemies hit and scales off her defense. However, her Ascension stats prioritize attack, creating a clash in her build. Her elemental burst deals both physical and pyro damage, but it often falls short in overall effectiveness, making her damage output mediocre compared to other characters. Candice stands out as the only character who can infuse Hydro into her teammates' normal attacks after using her elemental burst. However, this ability has limited synergy, as very few DPS characters can fully capitalize on the Hydro infusion. While she has a unique niche, Candice struggles to find a solid place in many team compositions. Chiki is beloved for her unparalleled healing capabilities, thanks to her elemental skill, which heals a substantial amount of HP and inflicts cryo on enemies even when switching characters. However, the lack of energy particle generation and a long cooldown significantly reduce her utility compared to other cryo characters. Her elemental burst also demands a lot of energy without providing any additional damage, further limiting her effectiveness in combat. Barbara is a fantastic support character who excels in healing and applying Hydro to enemies with her elemental skill, even while off-field. However, her utility ends there, as she offers little beyond healing and Hydro application. The constant wet status she imposes on active characters can also be a double-edged sword, making them vulnerable to dangerous elemental reactions. Despite this, her C6 constellation is noteworthy, as it allows her to revive fallen teammates to full health, which is invaluable in Spiral Abyss. Electro Traveler offers average performance with both their elemental skill and burst, providing a decent amount of energy for teammates, but lacking in damage output. However, their C2 constellation, which is accessible to all players, provides a significant passive ability that reduces enemies' Electro RES after being hit by falling thunder, making them a valuable asset in Electro teams. Dory struggles to deal significant damage with her elemental skill, but she compensates with decent energy particle generation when built as a support. Her elemental burst is her main contribution, healing teammates, continuously regenerating energy, and applying Electro to enemies. However, its effectiveness is limited by the positioning requirement, as enemies must be between the Jinni and the active character, making it difficult to maximize her utility in fast-paced battles. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Yanfei, Shikanoin Heizu, Klee, Kave, Ningguang, Freminet, Sethos, Toma, Kirara, Dendro Traveler, Lynette, Kaeya, Dihaya, Lisa, Mika, Sayu, and Layla. Yanfei is a reliable source of pyro damage with her consistent attacks and high base stats for a 4-star character. As a catalyst user, she can easily trigger elemental reactions, boosting her damage output. Her normal and charged attacks offer long-range capabilities and target locking, but her elemental skill and burst are more suited for close-range combat. However, her heavy reliance on charged attacks drains stamina quickly, making her C1 constellation a valuable upgrade to ease stamina management. Shikanoin Heizu is a rare Anemo character who focuses on dealing damage rather than supporting his team. His normal attack swiftly applies Anemo, enabling frequent elemental reactions. Haizu's elemental skill can be charged to deliver burst-level damage, while his elemental burst provides range damage with light grouping. Despite his offensive prowess, Haizu's support capabilities are limited due to his lack of a dedicated support kit and weaker crowd control compared to other Anemo characters like Sucrose. Klee excels in dealing massive damage with her elemental skill and burst, thanks to her high base attack and Pyro Ascension stat. As a Catalyst user, she can maintain consistent Pyro application, making her a formidable force in battle. However, Klee's effectiveness diminishes if she's unable to stay within range of her enemies, a challenge compounded by her small build and high stamina consumption when sprinting. Kaveh serves as a budget-friendly alternative to Nilou, with a unique self-healing ability. His optimal role is in Bloom-related team compositions, where he can act as the primary DPS by triggering Bloom Core explosions with his elemental skill. While Kaveh can function outside of Bloom teams, it's not recommended as his kit lacks supportive abilities. Despite his self-healing, he still benefits from having a dedicated healer on the team to manage the explosive damage. Ningguang offers a versatile playstyle with her elemental skill, which creates a jade screen that blocks ranged attacks and provides a geo damage bonus to characters passing through it. Although her normal attack speed is slow, she compensates with powerful damage multipliers from her Star Jade charged attack and a mini meteor shower from her elemental burst. However, her auto-targeting normal attacks are less effective against multiple enemies. Fremine stands out for his ability to utilize frozen, shatter, and superconduct reactions depending on his build. He excels in dealing both physical and cryo damage simultaneously, but this duality also limits his synergy with current support characters, as there's no ideal support for his pseudo-elemental playstyle. Cethos is a unique character, capable of dealing piercing damage and functioning as a main DPS with two distinct playstyles: charged ATK DPS or burst. In situations where energy is lacking, he can sacrifice burst activation for instantly charged ATKs. However, Cethos is highly dependent on having sufficient energy, making it crucial to pair him with an electro battery to maintain his effectiveness. Thoma shines in Mono Pyro and Burgeon teams thanks to his elemental skill, which provides pyro damage and a decent shield, and his elemental burst, which delivers periodic AoE damage ideal for Burgeon reactions. However, his high energy cost necessitates the use of specific artifacts and weapons to manage it effectively. As a bonus, Thoma's exploration skill offers a chance of scoring a double catch. Kirara provides decent utility with her shield, which can be reinforced if a new one is created. While she performs adequately at lower constellations, Kirara truly shines at C4 or C6, where she gains additional utility and bonuses that benefit a wide range of characters. Her exploration ability, which allows her to scale cliffs easily by holding her elemental skill, adds extra value to her kit. Dendro Traveler has found their best element in Dendro, with a kit that outshines previous elements. They serve as an excellent off-field Dendro applicator, with an elemental skill that deals decent damage and generates energy efficiently due to its low cooldown. While their elemental burst requires a significant amount of energy, the long-lasting off-field Dendro application makes it worth the investment. Lynette is a serviceable Anemo support character, though she lacks the impact of higher-tier options. Her main contribution comes from swirl reactions, particularly through her elemental burst, which continues to provide support even after she switched out. However, as a free character, her overall performance is fairly mediocre compared to other Anemo supports. Kaya starts as a decent physical DPS in the early game, but transitions into a valuable cryo sub-DPS in the later stages. His elemental skill has a short cooldown, deals respectable damage, and generates particles, while his elemental burst remains active even after he's switched out, allowing for easy triggering of elemental reactions with other characters. Dehya has sparked controversy within the Genshin Impact community due to her underwhelming performance. While she provides consistent off-field pyro damage and has a high base HP for support roles, her DPS and elemental particle generation fall short, especially with low investment. Even with high investment, Dehya struggles as a main DPS, as her damage output remains below average without significant buffs. Lisa offers a large AoE with her elemental burst, which has a long duration, decreases defense resistance on enemies, and inflicts electro damage even when she's switched out. However, her elemental skill takes too long to charge, leaving her vulnerable to attacks, and the damage output is modest unless she receives substantial investment in talents, artifacts, and weapons. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Kamisato Ayato, Xiao, Wanderer, Arataki Ito, Yoimiya, Sino, Keking, Noel, Eula, Chiori, Venti, Beidou, Rosaria, Kole, Albedo, Goru, Diona, Yunjin, Kujusara, Yao Yao, Charlotte, and Sigewin. Kamisato Ayato is a remarkable DPS character who leverages his elemental skill to transform his normal attack into AoE hydro damage, effectively hitting both single and multiple enemies. Although his overall damage output may not rival the top-tier DPS characters like Neuvillette, Ayato still proves powerful in various team compositions. His minor support skill, which boosts the normal attack damage of characters within his elemental burst AoE, adds a layer of utility to his role. Xiao, the Adeptus known for his plunging DPS, excels in dealing consistent and powerful AoE damage through his elemental burst without relying on elemental reactions. However, Xiao's dependency on another Anemo character to generate energy for his burst, coupled with his need for both offensive and healing support to perform optimally, places him in the A tier rather than higher. Wanderer stands as a complete DPS character without any support skills, delivering consistent Anemo damage through his catalyst attacks. His elemental skill has a short cooldown and significantly boosts his damage, but he is vulnerable to interruptions while hovering. With a manageable energy cost, his elemental burst can be spammed if paired with another Anemo character to generate particles. Like Xiao, Wanderer benefits greatly from dedicated support to excel at lower constellations. Arataki Ito is a solid Geo DPS who thrives in a mono Geo team setup, with his skills primarily scaling off his defense. His elemental skill delivers a strong punch and taunts enemies, while his high-cost elemental burst unleashes devastating Geo damage through his charged attack and superlative super strength stacks. Despite requiring high investment and specific team compositions to maximize his damage, Ito is a reliable powerhouse. Yoimiya is a single-target pyro DPS whose performance, while comparable to Hu Tao's, falls short in several areas. She struggles with targeting issues, interruption vulnerability, and a lack of AoE damage. However, with a shielder and off-field elemental support, Yoimiya can excel in single-target situations. Her elemental burst provides an attack boost to party members and deals AoE pyro damage, though it is rarely fully utilized. Sino is a hyper-carry DPS known for his relentless combat prowess. Activating his elemental burst allows him to deal significant damage for up to 18 seconds, requiring teammates who can sustain buffs throughout this duration, such as Nahida or Baiju. His damage output is further amplified by the aggravate reaction due to his fast attacks and elemental mastery bonuses. Keking, one of the starter characters, finds renewed viability thanks to the Dendro element, elevating her to a higher tier. Her elemental skill, which hits weak points with a low cooldown, and her low-cost elemental burst, make her a formidable electro DPS. Her potential is maximized through quick and aggravate reactions, enhancing her electro damage significantly. Noelle remains a versatile character despite being a 4-star, capable of serving as a DPS, shielder, and healer depending on her build. Her elemental skill provides a robust shield that scales with her defense and has a chance to heal allies. Her elemental burst, with its 100% uptime and manageable energy cost, benefits greatly from a battery to maintain energy levels, solidifying her role as a multifunctional asset. Eula excels as the premier physical DPS in Genshin Impact. Her elemental skill reduces enemies' physical and cryo RES, which can be further enhanced by triggering superconduct with an electro ally. Her elemental burst delivers massive AoE damage, but requires precise timing to avoid missing agile enemies, a factor that keeps her from ascending to the highest tier. Chiori, often compared to Albedo, stands out as a smoother, more robust version. Her Tomodo is sturdier than Albedo's Solar Isotoma, and she boasts higher scaling and better elemental burst damage. Despite these advantages, she remains in the same tier as Albedo due to the inherent limitations of Geo characters in synergizing with most elements. Venti, the only Archon not in the SS tier, remains highly useful in endgame content like the Spiral Abyss thanks to his elemental skill and burst. However, he is outperformed by Kazuha and Sucrose, who offer similar capabilities while providing additional team buffs. Venti's low-cost elemental burst can gather enemies for significant AoE damage and swirl reactions, but newer, heavier enemies diminish its effectiveness. Beidou shines as a sub-DPS in the Taser team, despite initial misconceptions about her parry kit. Her elemental burst consistently deals electro damage to nearby enemies, allowing the main DPS to trigger reactions. However, her high energy cost necessitates pairing her with another electro character to maintain energy levels. Rosaria, the formidable nun, excels both as a DPS and support. Her elemental skill generates particles efficiently, charging her powerful elemental burst. Beyond damage, her burst offers continuous cryo application and a crit rate bonus for the entire party, making her a valuable asset in freeze or melt teams. Kolei serves as a reliable Dendro support and off-field applicator, though her elemental skill and burst deal minimal damage. Her burst's small AoE can hinder effectiveness as enemies easily escape its range, but she remains a consistent Dendro applicator for triggering reactions. Albedo provides decent off-field geo damage as a sub-DPS, fitting well in certain teams while offering an elemental mastery bonus. However, his Solar Isotoma can disrupt melee characters' movement by lifting them, which is a drawback that limits his utility. Goru excels as a Geo support, particularly in mono-Geo teams. His personal damage from elemental skill and burst is low, but he significantly enhances the main DPS's performance. His limited team options and reliance on constellations keep him in the A tier. Diona offers a full support kit, scaling off HP, making her easy to build. Her elemental skill generates particles, a strong shield, increases movement speed, and decreases stamina consumption. Equipped with Sacrificial Bow, she becomes an excellent cryo battery. Her elemental burst heals teammates and deals continuous cryo damage, with C6 providing an elemental mastery buff. Yunjin shines in teams with varied elemental types. While her elemental skill doesn't support, it recharges her elemental burst, which boosts party members' normal attack damage based on her defense. This bonus increases with more diverse party compositions, and C6 enhances normal ATK SPD, benefiting characters like Yoimiya and Wanderer. Kuju Sara is an electro support, heavily reliant on energy for her elemental burst. At C6, she becomes an exceptional support for electro DPS characters like Raiden Shogun and Yai Miko. Both her elemental skill and burst offer an attack bonus to the team, enhancing overall performance. Yao Yao acts as a budget Nahida with healing capabilities. Her elemental skill provides off-field dendro damage or healing for characters below 70% HP. Her elemental burst offers more healing, but requires her to be on the field, causing a DPS loss. Despite Weigui's occasional aiming issues, Yao Yao's burst heals the entire party, making her a valuable healer. Charlotte combines healing with consistent cryo application through her elemental skill, allowing for frequent reactions. She can be built as a sub-DUS or support, demonstrating versatility. Like Yao Yao, her AoE healing ensures the party's sustainability, though her small AoE can limit effectiveness against mobile enemies. Sigawen stands out among Hydro healers for her ability to heal the entire party with her elemental skill while providing a team-wide buff. However, her buffs mainly benefit off-field characters' elemental skills, necessitating another Hydro character for optimal elemental application. Despite being a 5-star, Sigurwina's lackluster performance hopes to improve with future updates. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Laini, Kamisato Ayaka, Gaming, Tartaglia, Ryothersley, Tignari, Diluc, Ganyu, Clorinda, Fischl, Yae Miko, Nilu, Kuki Shinobu, Emily, Mona, Xianyun, Shenhe, Jean, Chevrus, Sucrose, and Faruzan. Laini thrives in a mono-pyro team, utilizing his charged attack to deal significant damage while summoning the Grin Malkin hat to taunt enemies, making it an essential strategy for his survival. However, his reliance on maintaining high HP to build prop surplus stacks means a healer like Bennett is necessary to keep him at peak performance. His potential is immense, but careful management of his HP and abilities is crucial to unleashing his full power. Kamisato Ayaka stands out as one of the most consistent DPS units, with her cryo infusion tied to her sprinting, allowing for nearly permanent uptime. Her normal attacks are straightforward yet reliable, and her elemental skill has a short cooldown. However, her high-damage elemental burst comes with a steep energy cost, and she requires significant investment, both for herself and her team, which is often composed of all 5-star characters to maximize her potential. Gaming may be a 4-star character, but his damage potential rivals that of 5-star units. His main damage output comes from plunging attacks, and with high base scalings, he can easily hold his own in any team. What sets Gaming apart is his self-sufficiency, his elemental skill, and burst both heal him, allowing him to fully utilize the Maréchaussée Hunter set without relying on external support, making him a hidden gem, especially at C6. Tartaglia, also known as Child, offers high raw damage but requires skill to master. His elemental skill allows him to switch between ranged and melee stances, with the melee stance unlocking his full potential. However, the longer he stays in melee stance, the longer the cooldown becomes, making timing critical. Tartaglia excels in situations with groups of enemies, but can struggle against single targets if not managed properly. Ryothersley, the Duke of Fontaine, is a close combat catalyst user whose true potential shines at C1, particularly in single target scenarios. While his damage output is impressive, he struggles against spread-out mobs and is heavily reliant on his melee capabilities. Despite his limitations, when used correctly, Wreathley can dominate single-target fights, especially in higher constellations. Tignari may be a standard banner character, but his performance is anything but standard. His primary damage comes from his Charge Level 2 charged attack and elemental burst, which has a remarkably low energy cost. Though his team compositions are somewhat limited to spread teams to maximize his damage, Tignari's consistent and powerful attacks make him a valuable asset, comparable to more recent characters like Linny. Diluc, once overshadowed by newer characters, has found new life thanks to the meta-changing Xianyun. His plunging attack ratio is the highest in the game, and when paired with Xianyun, Diluc can outperform many traditional vaporized teams. While he shines even at C0, he may be eclipsed by gaming if the latter reaches C6, but Diluc's raw power and synergy with the right team keep him relevant in the current meta. Ganyu is a master of charged attacks, dealing massive damage from a safe distance. Her reliance on a shielder is critical, as she is easily interrupted if enemies close in. Ganyu's elemental skill serves as a useful taunt, while her elemental burst provides continuous cryo damage over a wide area, making her an excellent sub-DPS. Her aimed shot also proves useful for hunting wildlife during exploration. Fischl excels as both a main DPS in physical builds and as a sub-DPS. Her elemental skill, which summons Oz, remains active even after she switches out, enabling constant electro application for reactions. While her elemental burst isn't particularly powerful, it resets Oz's duration, allowing for extended uptime. Fischl performs admirably even at C0, but truly shines with higher constellations. Yae Miko is a top-tier off-field electro DPS with an elemental skill that has a low cooldown and can be used to dodge attacks. Her Sesho Sakura turrets have a wide targeting area, but require careful placement. Yae Miko's elemental burst has the highest energy cost in the game, so pairing her with another electro character for battery support is essential. Despite the setup, her burst delivers massive AoE electro damage, making the investment worthwhile. Nilou's strength lies in the Dendro Bloom team, where she can trigger devastating reactions with her elemental skill and burst. Her damage output is massive when paired with the right team, though she is limited to this niche. Due to the explosive nature of Dendro cores, a healer is necessary to keep Nilou and her team alive. While her playstyle is restrictive, Nilou's damage potential in the right composition is undeniable. Kuki Shinobu is the go-to electro support for Hyperbloom teams, offering consistent off-field electro application through her elemental skill while simultaneously healing her teammates. Her elemental burst is affordable and provides respectable AoE electro damage, making her an indispensable asset in any Dendro-related team composition, particularly those focused on triggering Hyperbloom reactions. Emily specializes in burning reactions and serves as an exceptional sub-DPS when this reaction is active. While she can function in other team compositions like Bloom or Burn plus Vape, her damage output is significantly reduced without burning enemies. Currently, burning is an underutilized reaction, but with the upcoming release of the Pyro Nation Natlan, Emily's potential is expected to rise as more characters that complement her niche become available. Mona is a Hydro support character who excels at crowd control and amplifying damage. Her elemental skill taunts enemies with a Phantom of Fate, dealing continuous Hydro damage even when she switches out. Her elemental burst, which creates an illusory bubble, not only deals Hydro damage, but also debuffs enemies, making them take more damage. Mona's alternate sprint allows for quick repositioning and applying wet status, adding versatility to her kit. Xianyun is a game changer, especially for teams that focus on plunging attacks. Her ability to buff plunging attack damage and heal the party synergizes exceptionally well with characters like Xiao and Furina. She is relatively easy to build, requiring a focus on ATK, making her accessible to most players. Xianyun opens up new strategies and team compositions, allowing for unique playstyles centered around plunging attacks. Shenhei is the premier support for cryo teams, offering unparalleled buffs to cryo damage through her elemental skill. Her elemental burst further enhances her team's damage output by reducing enemies' cryo and physical resistance. However, her high energy requirements make her somewhat challenging to use effectively, necessitating proper team setup to maximize her contributions. Jean is a versatile Anemo support who excels at healing and crowd control. Her elemental burst cleanses, debuffs, and heals the party while dealing continuous Anemo damage in a large AoE. Jean's elemental skill can gather enemies and launch them into the air, dealing heavy fall damage to smaller foes. While she may not be as effective in crowd control as other Anemo supports, her powerful constellations and unique utility keep her relevant. Chevreuse is a versatile character who can fill the role of an Anemo support by shredding electro and pyro resistance, making her a valuable asset in overload teams. At C6, she can completely replace an Anemo character in these teams, providing both ATK buffs and healing. However, outside of overload teams, her utility diminishes, making her a more niche pick depending on the team composition. Sucrose is a reliable 4-star Anemo support with strong crowd control capabilities. Her elemental skill and burst can gather enemies, triggering the viridescent veneerer artifact set to shred their elemental resistance. While her burst has a high energy cost, her elemental skill helps compensate, especially with the aid of Constellation 1 and the Sacrificial Fragment Catalyst. Sucrose also provides valuable elemental mastery bonuses to her team, enhancing reaction damage. Faruzan is a rare Anemo support with a unique ability to buff Anemo damage and reduce Anemo resistance. Her elemental skill's gathering effect is weak, only pulling small and lightweight enemies, but her true value lies in her Anemo buffs. Unfortunately, Faruzan struggles with energy regeneration due to her high elemental burst cost, and she heavily relies on constellations, particularly C6, to reach her full potential. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Neuvillette, Alhaitham, Hu Tao, Raiden Shogun, Navia, Arlecchino, Nahida, Furina, Xingqiu, Yelan, Xiangling, Kaede Harakazuha, Bennett, Zhongli, Baizhu, and Sangonomiya Kokomi. Neuvillette stands as one of the most powerful Hydro characters in the game, boasting an impressive charged attack that can single-handedly decimate enemies. However, his strength comes with a vulnerability. He can be easily interrupted by foes. Thankfully, his C1 constellation helps mitigate this weakness, making him a formidable one-man army. Alhaitham, the self-proclaimed feeble scholar, conceals immense power within his kit. With both his elemental skill and burst scaling to elemental mastery, he delivers substantial reaction and normal damage. His ability to handle both single and multi-target situations makes him versatile, especially when his chisel mirror stacks are well managed. Hu Tao excels in delivering powerful and consistent damage through her elemental skill, which significantly buffs her charged attack. Her high multipliers increase even further when her HP drops below 50%. Her elemental burst not only deals considerable damage, but also heals her, making her a safer pick for teams without a dedicated healer. However, her optimal damage output at C0 requires animation canceling, though this can be alleviated with support from Xingqiu or by obtaining her C1. Raiden Shogun is a force to be reckoned with, even when equipped with the forgeable 4-star weapon, the Catch. Her elemental skill provides continuous field damage, increases burst damage, and generates energy particles. Her elemental burst is exceptionally strong, with near-constant uptime when built with high-energy recharge. She's a key member of the national team, which consists of superb 4-star support characters. For those willing to invest, her C2 grants a powerful DF ignoring effect. Navia is a unique Geo character who thrives in teams with diverse elements. She shines through the crystallized reaction, and her elemental skill can deliver significant damage to both small mobs and bosses. Her flexibility in different team compositions sets her apart from other Geo characters. Arlecchino has redefined the Pyro tier with her raw damage output, even without relying on elemental reactions like Vaporize or Overload. Her playstyle, akin to Hu Tao's, involves spamming normal attacks after activating her skill. However, Arlecchino's attacks are faster, have a wider AoE, and deal higher damage. Her complex mechanics, such as the Blood Debt Directive, may be challenging for new players, but mastering her is immensely rewarding. Nahida, the Dendro Archon, is a cornerstone in any Dendro team. Her C2 is worth the investment, providing massive crit rate and crit DMG boosts for various Dendro reactions while reducing enemy DF for quicken, aggravate, and spread teams. Her elemental skill offers strong off-field damage with multiple Dendro applications, and her elemental burst provides a significant elemental mastery bonus with a wide AoE and low burst cost. Furina is a standout Hydro character whose elemental skill has a near-infinite duration due to its short cooldown. Her Usia damage is formidable, and the Salon members effectively add 3 main DPS units to the field. While their Hydro application may not be as fast as Xingqiu or Yelan, Furina's overall contribution to a team is invaluable. Xingqiu is a cherished 4-star character, renowned for his superb off-field support. His elemental skill provides decent damage, particle generation, and damage reduction, along with minor healing. His elemental burst is the highlight, consistently dealing hydro damage off-field and enabling powerful elemental reactions. Yelan, often considered a 5-star Xingqiu, excels in consistent off-field hydro application through her high-cost elemental burst, which also boosts the active character's damage. Her elemental skill is excellent for gathering energy and exploring, dealing significant damage and not consuming stamina. Yelan's skills are straightforward to build, as they primarily scale with her HP. Xiangling may have an average elemental skill, but her elemental burst is devastating and highly effective in elemental reaction teams. Her elemental skill summons Guoba, who deals off-field pyro damage and generates energy for her high burst cost. The Pyro Nado from her elemental burst provides continuous pyro damage, but Xiangling's high energy demands often require pairing with another pyro character like Bennett. Kaitahara Kazuha is a top-tier Anemo support character, with his elemental skill gathering enemies and his elemental burst facilitating elemental reactions. Kazuha's swirl reactions grant an elemental damage bonus to all party members, making him indispensable in many team compositions. Cloranda may not match Arlecchino's raw damage, but she is a reliable on-field DPS with the right team composition. Her performance is heavily dependent on triggering electro reactions like Hyper Bloom, Aggravate, and Overloaded. While susceptible to interruptions, Clorand excels as an on-field driver for off-field supports, providing consistent damage in the right setup. Bennett is the best 4-star support character in the game, offering a short cooldown on his elemental skill and generating ample energy particles. His elemental burst is the main attraction, boosting ATK and healing teammates within its AoE, while also dealing respectable damage. Zhongli remains a timeless defensive unit, with his elemental skill creating a strong shield and stone seal that deals AoE geo damage. His shield also reduces opponents' elemental and physical RES, while his elemental burst delivers solid damage and petrifies enemies, making Zhongli a valuable asset in any team. Baizhu is an often overlooked healer who excels in providing high healing and boosting dendro reactions. While his shield is thin, it offers decent resistance to interruptions, benefiting certain DPS characters. Baiju's short-range attacks limit his DPS potential, but his healing capabilities make him a hidden gem in the right team. Sangonomiya Kokomi has risen to prominence with the introduction of the Dendro element, making her a top-tier choice in Bloom and Hyper Bloom teams. Her elemental skill heals, applies Hydro, and remains active even after switching characters. Her elemental burst heals the entire team, But outside of Dendro-related teams, her skills are less impactful due to her low raw damage and stationary elemental skill. Faruzan is a specialized Anemo support, offering rare Anemo damage buffs and Anemo RES shredding. Her elemental skill's gathering ability is limited to small enemies, and she struggles with energy regeneration due to her high elemental burst cost. Faruzan is highly reliant on her constellations, particularly C6, to address these issues and maximize her effectiveness. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.